Welcome to the Comics and Illustrations collection. In this collection, we will explore a variety of images created by Scottish AIDS Monitor. Annotations include an audio description of each image. This first comic strip appears in a 16-page comic book called What a Swizz, which was commissioned by the Scottish AIDS Monitor in the early to mid-1990s. Titled Squawk, It's the Bampots, the comic begins in the family kitchen. The mother said, "Here's your magic muffins, your magic mushrooms for breakfast, Pa." The father says, "Here we got a postcard for Joe." Mother says, "I didn't ken he was away on holiday." Father says, "Nor me." Says he'll be back today though. In the next panel, red smoke fills the kitchen. The son crashes through the window feet first. He says, "Hello, Ma, hello, Pa." Terrified, his father says, "Can't you use the fucking door like anyone else?" His mother says, "I didn't ken you were away, Joe." Joe says, "Stealth is my middle name, Ma." His father says angrily, "No, it's no. Your middle name's Kafka. Unaway, where have you been?" Joe says, "A week's survival course on Burnt Island." "Sat the time. Time for my steroids and a quick workout." Joe goes to his room to get a needle. "Rock, I'm so rock, the needle's broken." Joe looks through a cabinet. "Here, Pa, can I borrow your works here? I'll give him back when I'm done." His father seizes the equipment. "Wit, what are you out of your fucking mind altogether?" The father says, his father says, "I've never ever shared my works with anybody. I'm no about to start now. No, even with my own son. But I need my steroids, Pa. What if there's a nuclear war in the night? I'll need my strength to regroup the survivors." His father says, "I'll give you survivors. Anyway, yet brother's locked up in the police station, stoned out his box again." Joe says, "Right, and you want me to spring him, Pa? I can climb the side of the building." And his father again, "Christ, what's wrong with ye? I can't yet, Mother. Shouldn't her taken the mescaline when she was carrying ye? Your head's full of mince." Joe pulls up the one arm and the parrot says, "I" again. In the next panel, they're at the police station. The officer says, "You're free to go." Someone outside says, "Come down off the ceiling, son. What the hell's wrong with ye?" From inside the cell, "Bad acid, Ma. My karma's out the window. Didn't think I can get down." In the final panel, the man is high in the sky. The next two images are a comic called Needle Exchange, also published in the What a Swizz comic book. Two cartoon syringes speak to one another. The first, "Hi, George. Christ, you look a bit rough." George says, "Yeah, well, so would you if you'd been partying as much as me. Been getting stuck into the old veins, have we?" George says, "What can I tell you? I'm out, in, out, like a fiddler's elbow. I'm knackered." Brian, the other syringe, adds, "That's a bit risky, George." George says, "How's that then?" "Well, what about Henry Irving V, old Mr. HIV himself?" George bandages his head. "Well, what about him?" "Well, that's how he gets about," says Brian, pointing to the needle point, "traveling on our pointy bits." George flexes. "Bit of a prick, is he? Hey, hey." "No, George, that's us." So this Mr. HIV geezer, he's a bit dangerous, is he?" Brian adds, "Can be fatal, George. So how do we put the kibosh on his movements, Brian? Stop his bobbing and weaving, ducking and diving?" "Be like me, George. I'm monogamous." George gasps. "Is that like Protestant or Catholic or what?" "No, it means I only stick in one person, dickheads. So no danger of Mr. HIV if he's around getting into someone else." George says, "Very good, Brian, very clever, but one small itsy bitsy teeny weeny problem." "What's that, George?" "What if there's not enough of us to go around?" Brian smiles. Nay, sweat. We can be got free from different places. Yeah? Like where? Well, there's needle exchanges, pharmacies, doctor surgeries, and some of us are outwardly mobile. Oh, yes. George strains to look at Brian. Outwardly mobile? Is that like being a yuppie? Brian says, no, Yatub. It just means we can be got free from a bus that travels around the city. Christ, that's amazing. Yeah, easy peasy, old pricks come in and fresh, clean new pricks go out. George says, talking about pricks, Brian, what about condoms? Condoms, George. See that, Mr. HIV? He doesn't like them. George says, mind you, neither do some of the punters. Brian says, but that's another story. George, okay, so all this being clean business helps stop old HIV from getting around. HIV, Brian says enthusiastically, abso-fucking-lutely, George. So where are these needle exchanges and that? Addresses on page 15 of this comic, George. I think I'll check them out. Cheers, Brian. No problem, George. Remember, happiness is a clean needle. George, I thought happiness was a Ken Dodd song, Brian. Piss off, George, and check out the addresses. This comic is titled Love at First Bite. The first panel opens in a bedroom where a woman is snoring. In the next panel, the windows are thrown open, smoke billows in, and a bat swoops toward the bed. It turns into a vampire. The vampire hypnotizes the woman. Gah, I want to suck your blood. But first, maybe we should get to know each other a bit better. Listen, I know it's a pain. I know you want to get on this and become a member of the undead, pledging allegiance to my dark overlordship and all that. But would you mind answering a few questions first? The vampire reads a book about AIDS. He says, now let's see, high-risk activities. Do you have unprotected penetrative sex? The woman says, no, master. The vampire asks, are you a hemophiliac who has received factor 8 from those bastards in America, the Armor Corps? She says, no, master. Good, we're getting there. The woman says, oh, master, come and waft me off to your dark realm so that I might serve you for all eternity. The vampire, oh, I love it when they talk dirty. Oh, wait a minute, mustn't get carried away. It'd be stupid to throw away 5,000 years of undeadness just because I got impatient. Won't be long now. Now. How many sexual partners have you had and when? She says, none, never. The vampire, yummy, a virgin, my favorite. Here, wait a minute, what's this? You've been seeing other vampires. The woman, no, master, I am a drug addict. The vampire, bugger it, that's a high-risk activity. Let's see what it says about that. Blah, blah, high-risk activities, blah, blah, wear a condom. In the final panel, the vampire has a condom on his head. Feels a bit stupid, but I should be safe now. The remaining 4 images appear in a standalone comic book created for Scottish AIDS Monitor in the 1990s. The opening scene displays people drinking in a pub. One person asks, what sort of disease is AIDS? The next panel shows the people's feet. AIDS is caused by a virus which attacks the body's defenses against infection. This breaks down the body's ability to fight off disease and infection. It means that people with the virus who develop AIDS can catch even common infections more easily, and they can suffer from certain rare diseases which healthy people are able to resist. These diseases and infections are usually fatal. Another person asks, is there a sure way of finding out if you have the AIDS virus? No totally sure way. Infection with the AIDS virus can usually be detected by a blood test, the HIV antibody test. But in a few people who have the AIDS virus, the test is negative. So the test can be unreliable and does not always tell if a person has the AIDS virus. Another person asks, where can you find more about AIDS? The main person says, from the Scottish AIDS Monitor, which seeks to spread knowledge and understanding of AIDS. The rest of the speech bubble contains contact information for Sam. Someone asks, do all people with the virus get AIDS? The main speaker says, no, only a small percentage of the people with the virus will get AIDS, but anyone who has the virus can pass it on. Someone else asks, can you catch AIDS from objects? AIDS cannot be caught from objects such as cups, glasses, food, clothing, towels, sheets, or toilet seats, or anything else used daily by an infected person. Daily contact is not a risk. The bartender asks, is it safe to work with someone with AIDS? The main speaker says, it's safe to work with, or be at school with, someone who is infected with the AIDS virus. Social contact, such as shaking hands, hugging, and kissing, also involves no risk. In this final panel, someone asks, how is the virus spread? The virus can spread only if an infected person's blood gets into another person's blood. It can be spread through sexual intercourse with an infected person. A final person asks, is it only homosexuals who can get AIDS? No, homosexuals can and do get AIDS. Heterosexuals can and do get AIDS. The guidelines on safe sex and safe drug use described in other Scottish AIDS Monitor leaflets apply to heterosexuals as well as to homosexuals.